Imagine you're standing in an open field. No walls, no weapons, no backup, and about 200 yards away, something the size of a school bus covered in fur, armed with tusks longer than your entire body, turns and locks eyes with you. That's not a nightmare. That's Tuesday for your ancestors. And here's what should genuinely unsettle you: they didn't run. They hunted it. Long before civilization, long before written records, long before any of the comforts that make modern life feel safe, prehistoric humans were going toe-to-toe with the most terrifying animal lineup this planet has ever assembled. Woolly mammoths, short-faced bears, cave lions the size of horses, giant ground sloths that stood 20 feet tall. These weren't just big, they were catastrophically dangerous. And our ancestors, with nothing but sharpened rocks and sheer audacity, were killing them regularly enough that some researchers believe humans were a primary reason these animals went extinct. So how did they actually do it? Let's go back. First, let's be real about what prehistoric humans were actually facing, because the word megafauna doesn't do it justice. Take the woolly mammoth. Most people picture something like a hairy elephant. And sure, that's accurate. But a fully grown male stood around 11 to 13 feet at the shoulder and weighed up to 13,000 pounds. That's 6 tons of muscle, rage, and curved ivory tusks stretching up to 15 feet long. For context, a modern African elephant, which already kills hundreds of people per year, typically tops out at around 13,000 pounds on its biggest day. Then there's the short-faced bear, Arctodus simus. This thing stood 6 feet tall on all fours. On its hind legs, over 11 feet, it could run at speeds estimated between 35 and 40 miles per hour. Faster than you, faster than most animals alive today, and substantially larger than any bear currently walking the earth. It wasn't a scavenger either. Evidence suggests it was an active predator, capable of running down prey over long distances. And if that wasn't enough, you also had Smilodon, the saber-toothed cat with canine teeth, up to 11 inches long and 4 limbs so powerful that scientists believe it wrestled prey to the ground before delivering a kill bite. These animals weren't edge cases. They were everywhere across Europe, Asia, and the Americas, and humans moved right into their territory. Here's what people always underestimate: prehistoric humans weren't just brave, they were engineers. The earliest confirmed spear tips date back roughly 500,000 years, found in Schöningen, Germany. 8 wooden throwing spears, recovered alongside the bones of over 20 butchered horses. These weren't crude sticks. They were carefully weighted, aerodynamically shaped, with the heaviest part toward the front, exactly like a modern javelin. Whoever made these understood physics. They just hadn't named it yet. But the real game changer came around 30,000 years ago: the atlatl. This was essentially a spear-throwing lever, a short stick with a hooked end that effectively extended the hunter's arm and multiplied throwing force dramatically. Studies on replica atlatls show they could launch a spear at speeds exceeding 90 miles per hour, with enough force to punch through thick hide and reach vital organs. Suddenly, humans didn't need to be close, and distance was survival. Evidence of atlatl use has turned up on every inhabited continent. Rock art in Australia, Africa, and the Americas all shows hunters using these devices. They weren't invented once. They were invented over and over again because they worked that well. Raw weapons only get you so far. What really made prehistoric humans terrifying was coordination. Bone sites in Europe and North America tell a very specific story. At La Côte de Saint, Brelade in Jersey, archaeologists found 2 stacked piles of mammoth and woolly rhinoceros bones at the base of a cliff dating back around 250,000 years. The arrangement isn't random. It's consistent with a very deliberate hunting strategy, driving animals over the edge. Groups of hunters would fan out behind herds, make noise, use fire, use terrain, and funnel massive animals toward natural kill zones. Cliff edges, bogs, narrow ravines, places where size became a disadvantage. At Solutré in France, the bones of an estimated 100,000 horses were found at the base of a rock face, accumulated over thousands of years of repeated hunts. That's not an accident. That's a hunting location, passed down through generations, a killing ground refined over millennia. And let's talk about mammoths, specifically because the evidence there is particularly striking. At Clovis sites across North America dating to roughly 13,000 years ago, mammoth bones are found with Clovis, spear points lodged directly in or between the ribs. One site in Arizona revealed a mammoth skeleton with a stone point, embedded so deep it had to have been thrown with enormous force or delivered at extremely close range. Both scenarios are alarming, but here's the part that really gets under your skin. This wasn't desperation. It was strategy calculated, patient, multi-generational strategy. Cave art found in Lascaux, France, painted around 17,000 years ago, depicts horses, aurochs, and deer in remarkable anatomical detail. But more interesting than the animals are the marks, dots and lines that researchers now believe represent the animal's vulnerable spots. Not decoration, but instruction. A visual record of where to strike. Passed down, refined, shared, sites in South Africa dated to 70,000 years ago show evidence of ochre pigment being used in what appear to be ritualistic preparations, possibly for hunts. Ritual wasn't just spiritual, it was social glue. It built group cohesion, synchronized effort, and reduced the terror that would otherwise have made rational people turn and run from a short-faced bear. These were calculated operations, reconnaissance of animal movement patterns, seasonal knowledge of migration routes, understanding of animal behavior, how mammoths protected their young, how cave lions stalked, how giant sloths used their claws defensively. None of this was luck. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Because roughly 10,000 to 15,000 years ago, wherever humans showed up, the megafauna started disappearing. In Australia, 46 of 50 large animal species went extinct within a few thousand years of human arrival, roughly 50,000 years ago. In North America, 33 of 45 genera of large mammals vanished within about 2,000 years of humans crossing the Bering Land Bridge. In South America, the pattern repeated. Island after island across the Pacific, the same story. Climate change played a role. Nobody's denying that. But the timing is hard to ignore, and the pattern is global. Humans arrived. The biggest animals died. Not the small ones, not the birds. The big ones. The ones that would have been the highest value, targets for groups of coordinated hunters, with atlatls and 50,000 years of learned killing technique. We didn't just coexist with the monsters. We systematically, methodically, generation after generation, hunted them out of existence. Think about that the next time someone makes a comment about how helpless early humans were. These people had no grocery stores, no hospitals, no backup. They faced animals that could crush a car with their foot, outrun a horse, or rip through bone like paper, and they won. Not because they were physically superior, because they were smarter, because they communicated, because they planned, because they passed knowledge down, because they invented tools and then improved them. That's the human story, not survival, domination. The real monsters of the prehistoric world weren't the mammoths or the cave lions. They were the small, resourceful, terrifyingly clever primate standing across from them. And that primate is your great, keep going, grandmother. If this hit different the way it hit me when I went down this rabbit hole, drop a comment below with the animal you think would have been the most terrifying to hunt. I genuinely want to know. And if you want more of this, the real no-fluff history that doesn't make the textbooks, subscribe to Yesterday's Secret. We're just getting started.